Let me show you how these ingredients, or these, your choice, and this can transform into this beauty. And all this magic without wheat flour, eggs, or dairy. You can make this recipe by hand and bake it in the oven, or use your bread machine to mix, rise the dough, and bake. Both ways are easy, making this a wonderful beginner, gluten-free, grain-free, and vegan sourdough bread recipe. To begin, gather everything you need, as doing so will keep things organized while making the recipe. Have a kitchen scale handy, as weighing your ingredients is best for accuracy. Grind any whole seeds or nuts that need to be transformed into flour with a small blender or food processor. Warm up some water that you'll need to combine with the whole psyllium husk. Whisk and set aside for a few minutes. In a large mixing bowl, combine and whisk or mix the dry ingredients, including the sea salt. Add the recently fed and active grain-free sourdough starter. I used a cassava flour starter and the psyllium husk gel mixture, and mix with a spoon for a few minutes. Then finish combining the dough with your hands. You can wet or grease your hands first, as this dough will be very sticky. Please note that you should not add more water to this mixture, even if you're tempted, because trust me, the psyllium husk absorbs a lot of moisture. Shape the dough into an oval and transfer it to a parchment-lined bread pan. If you have a bread pan with a lid, use it, it's perfect. Smooth imperfections and loosely cover the dough with plastic wrap or the bread pan lid. And you can see in this clip 2 different types of bread pans with lids, or you can use a round one like this. And for this recipe, you do not preheat the bread pan. In the previous clip, I placed the dough in a smaller metal bread pan to rise, as I was testing variations. Anyhow, if you keep watching, I do transfer the dough to the ceramic pan with lid before baking, but I did test all 3 types of pans and they were all great. Now, let the dough rise on the proof setting of your oven or in your kitchen at room temperature for 3 to 5 hours, or until you notice some springiness, even just a little, to the dough when pressed down with a finger. When some rise is noticeable, that's when it's time to preheat the oven to 425 for at least 30 minutes. Continue rising the dough on your kitchen counter covered while the oven is preheating. Bake the grain-free sourdough for 1 hour and 10 minutes, minimum up to 1 hour and 20 minutes, or until the internal temperature reaches 210. If you don't like a moist texture, you can bake this recipe for up to 1 hour and 30 minutes. It will help dry out the crumb even more. Start with 1 hour and 10 minutes and adjust for the next bake. Once the bread is ready, let it cool in the pan for 10 minutes. Then remove the paper and finish cooling on a wire rack before you slice it. This bread might deflate or collapse a little while cooling, and the best way to solve this problem is by baking it for longer next time. Or if you do try to bake it longer and it still deflates a little too much, try reducing the amount of water by 1 to 2 tablespoons for the next bake. And also note that some of the ingredients or seeds used can be more absorbent than others, so keep notes. To make this recipe in a bread machine, the steps are similar to the hand-mixed and oven-baked version. The instructions might be confusing, especially if you've never used your bread machine to make grain-free or gluten-free sourdough bread, so please ask your questions in the comments. To begin, insert your mixing paddle and then add the warm water and psyllium husk right into the bread machine pan. Then add the dry ingredients and the starter. Next, you'll want to find a bread machine setting that will mix the ingredients for 5 to 10 minutes. You can turn off the machine after. Consider the rapid, basic, quick, mix, or dough settings. Help the machine mix the ingredients by scraping the sides with a soft spatula. Remove the mixing paddle once the dough is combined, and smooth out the dough with a spatula. To rise the dough, the bread machine can be set to the ferment or proof setting, or can simply be turned off while the dough rises for 3 to 5 hours. Each bread machine is different, so check on the dough after 3 hours, as it might be ready to bake sooner, all depending on the temperature in the bread machine. When ready to bake, use the bake setting on your bread machine to bake for 1 hour and 20 minutes up to 1 hour and 30 minutes. When the machine beeps, check the internal temperature. The bread is ready when it reaches 210. Remove the bread pan from the bread machine and cool the loaf for 10 minutes. Then remove the bread from the pan and finish cooling on a wire rack before slicing. To summarize, the ingredients used, the grain-free starter added, Whether you baked in the oven or in a bread machine will all affect the final loaf. So have fun experimenting and use this grain-free sourdough recipe as a guide. And for more bread recipes, don't forget to check out my new bread machine cookbook, which includes a few grain-free recipes. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.